Make TV better for your whole family.
We all like to know that we're not alone in our troubles, that other people have weathered the same challenges and pains and gotten through them.
As People created a place for personality journalism, celebrities realized that something happened when they confessed their problems within its pages.
Often, instead of condemning them as fallen idols, readers loved them even more for being mortal. I think one of the things that we found out in People magazine is that there is an inclination on the part of some people to want to get the story told, just to get it out of their system.
Tony Orlando, I think that was really our first story where a celebrity talked to us about a very personal problem. He had undergone a severe depression, and he talked very openly about that depression. The public responded with a lot of openness. They really looked at him as someone who had been able to recognize his problem and to deal with it, and they liked that.
A decade ago, Karen Carpenter died of anorexia, and the world became suddenly tragically aware of this disease, where girls, mostly women, were starving themselves to death.
We had our readers writing in saying, that could be my daughter. Thank you for running this story. Now I know what's wrong with her.
Karen Carpenter dies in 1983 of anorexia. Tracey Gold in 1992 is on the cover at 90 pounds, dying of anorexia. We all hope she's getting better. She says she's getting better, but nevertheless, she's sick. I think the reason that people respond to that is it makes them understand not only that we're all human, but that we're always human.
The happy surprise in many cases is that the response they get from having done this story is a great outpouring of appreciation and affection to them, which in one sense gives them a greater sense of strength for their own problems and the realization that they're helping a lot of other people.
I was leading a kind of controlled life of an alcoholic, in that I used to have 2 or 3 drinks every night of my life. So I decided, rather than trying to mend my own broken bone, I would take it to an expert, and I went to the Betty Ford Center, and I tried to do that very quietly. But somehow the press discovered it and made it public. I was so happy about the letters that I got from people who were saying that, for me especially, to admit that I had a drinking problem, a serious drinking problem, was so inspirational to them.
Carol Burnett had a daughter who was in therapy in Houston, Texas for drug problems. And when the word began to get out that this child had this problem and was in this clinic in Houston, Carol came to our offices in Los Angeles and said, I want to tell this story. I have to tell this story. She felt good about it after it was over because she felt like there was a catharsis involved here. And in fact, she also performed a service, as so many of these people do.
It's not fun to sit down and open up about tremendously painful family problems, illnesses, alcoholism, the diseases that all of us face.
I had cancer. I wanted to keep it private. I didn't want to go public with it. In retrospect, I'm really glad I did it, because if I could save one life out there, it's worth it.
The leader of the club that's made for you and me.
She was America's sweetheart.
Annette.
And this was before she was even old enough to have a boyfriend. We watched her grow from a mouseketeer to the queen of the beach to supermom. Life was great for Annette Funicello, but she also carried a disturbing secret. Annette, in 1987, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. People's Nancy Matsumoto wrote her story.
My memories of Annette Funicello before I did the story are you as the perkiest member of the Mickey Mouse Club and the beautiful star of all of the beach comedy movies.
Bingo. You know something, it really was the perfect life. Everything went as scheduled, and I had fun, and I made wonderful, lasting friendships.
Now, yeah, let's give it a whirl.
I was diagnosed in '87, and I didn't go public for a long, long time. I mean, it was very hard for me, but I was living a lie, a terrible, terrible lie. People started saying that I was drunk, when they would see me walk or leave a restaurant. And when I went public, I didn't have to answer any more questions.
Do you know, since going public with my illness, the outpouring of love and public support has truly been overwhelming.
So many people that I've come across in person, and they either have MS or their mother does or a relative does, and they all say, thank you for going public, because now we're not ashamed to get in our wheelchairs or to walk with a cane. I guess it helps. I guess it is inspirational, because they don't put me on a pedestal anymore. I'm their friend, and I can get sick too.
I was always a fan of Annette Funicello and still am.
And to continue on a high note, we have another update on one of People's Amazing Americans. 3 years ago, the magazine brought you the tale of a man with a wonderful mission to save America's open range so that wild horses could once again roam free.
We went back to visit that rancher, Dayton Hyde. In seeking to save America's past, he found a direct route to the hearts and minds of America's future, our children.
I was a cattle rancher in Oregon, and I was down in Nevada buying cattle one day, and I saw a bunch of wild horses being held in government-sponsored corrals. Hundreds and hundreds of horses just standing in boredom. Horses that have been that long running free are not meant for captivity. So I came back through the western United States looking for a great piece of land where I could develop a wild horse sanctuary and let those horses run wild and free again. We've spent our life conquering the West, and now I think it's time we start saving the West. By adding horses to this land, it's like adding music to theater. We've had a lot of crippled children here through the summer, and we put them on our big black work team, and I think the children seem to identify with the horses. I think these children are released suddenly from this earth and are flying with the animals. There was a couple who came here last summer with a couple of young girls, and one of the girls was full of herself and busy taking pictures of the horses with her parents, and the other young girl didn't say much, and I called in a little bay mare that I love, and she trotted out of the herd to stand by me, and I looked, and the young child was standing next to me at my elbow, and the horse nuzzled her hand, and she said, "Look, Mommy, this horse is kissing my hand." And that was apparently the first words that child has spoken in 2.5 years. My goal is that 50 years from now, the horses will still be running wild and free, and it may be the last place in Western America where a person can come and truly be alone. In America, you can still take a dream and turn it into something, and that to me is part of freedom.
What a great story.
Very nice. And we'll be right back.
Coming up, Malice in the Palace, the royals behind closed doors.
He's dead from the waist down. That's what she said.
Next, who are the most outrageous?
I think this is a really unattractive picture.
The most outspoken.
This is